Today we will be starting with peace. I will start with the quality of peace, and Brahmachari Jamal will take us into calmness. We were discussing who will take mention about peace and who will calmness. So Jamal got the calmness part, which is a little tougher than tuning into peace, but both are equally important. So yes, we also did in the month of September a series on Swami Kriyananda's Secrets of Inner Peace. So do go through them also because a lot of wisdom is there about tuning into peace there. So what is peace? We will go into certain techniques to tune into peace, but what really is divine peace? Peace, Paramahansa Yogananda ji and Swami ji also used to say it is a cessation of suffering, that when you're going through too much suffering or too much activity, and when that activity or suffering stops, the immediate thing which proceeds that is peace. Peace is also after you say there is some conflict going on, and when that conflict ends, you experience a certain level of peace. There are degrees of peace: passive, dynamic, inner, outer, all sorts of this. For example, if you are in a room for a long time and the fan or some other thing which makes a consistent sound is going on, and then that sound stops, what happens? The first thing we notice is, oh, something stopped. There is a certain amount of peace in the stillness. So there is a key there, that when some kind of movement or activity comes to a stop, in that stillness you can tune in some way to peace, to divine peace. And that is also where we can tune into God's peace, in the stillness within. And that is why meditation, acquired peace, is one of the best ways we can tune into inner peace. That the peace we get from sleeping at night is different from the peace we get after meditating long and calming our mind. Again, this is not calmness, this is peace. So, for example, if you imagine, sometimes we have so many desires in our mind. Now I will go into where I'm coming from. So suppose in your mind there's an intense desire for something. Say I want to go and do this thing. I want to go and eat this particular flavor of ice cream which I had 2 years back. I just want to taste that flavor again. And there's this tension in your mind that, oh, if I don't do this, what will happen? If I do this, what will happen? And different ways and different thoughts and things coming in your mind regarding that simple desire. And you think, if I just fulfill this desire now, I will be at peace, that won't have to think about it anymore. There is some truth to it. You will, after giving into that desire, tasting that ice cream, you will feel a certain amount of joy and then a certain amount of peace, that, oh, that tension about that desire has reduced. But if you do it more often, you will realize the peace that you got is not a divine peace. It is a peace accompanied by a reduction of your energy, because your energy has gone out from your soul. True peace from meditation, the energy goes in and up. But when it goes down and out through the senses, you will feel a peace to a certain degree, but it won't last. It will be bound by duality, that, oh, something good happened, after that peaceful, something bad happened, after that peaceful. Paramahansa Yogananda ji said peace comes in the gaps between the ups and downs of pleasures and pains. And so peace can be a precursor to both sorrow and happiness. So we have to be very careful what kind of peace we are tuning into. And it is important to tune into peace. Swami Kriyananda ji said peace was his bottom line, that if he felt his mind was out of balance, he would first do something to come to a center of peace, and then only he would go into any number of projects or activities. Because without peace, he wasn't sure that he would make the right decision. So try to be peaceful in all that you do. And I will come into how. But why I was mentioning about desires and peace and the connection between them, many of us who learn the teachings of Kriya Yoga, we hear the sutra of Patanjali, Yoga's Chitta Vritti Nirodha. that yoga is the neutralization of the vortices of feeling, likes, dislikes, all the opposites. When we come to in between, that is the goal of yoga, and that is what brings us to freedom and liberation. So when you are bound by likes and dislikes and desires and attachment to desires, it's very difficult to be peaceful then. But when you live simply, when your desires are very less, when you are very content, that is that moment when you can experience peace, that stillness, in that center. So that is one of the ways you can tune into peace. Now, technique wise, what do we do? Hongsa technique of meditation, most of you know about it. It's very simple yet very powerful. And people who learn it initially and then go to Kriya Yoga sometimes then give less importance to Hongsa, thinking, oh, it was a beginner technique, or give it very less time. But if you give it more time and go into it deeper and deeper, the product of Hongsa, the product, that is to say the fruit of Hongsa, is inner peace. And if you do it long enough, you will feel that peace deeply. And once you start feeling that peace, let that peace in your heart and then expand that peace within. And what next? Keep expanding with a relaxed effort. The effort is not like, oh, I have peace, now I have to go and make it deeper. It's not an activity. It's being manifesting peace within. And the more deeper you go, the more it will last for you too. When you take that piece out of meditation into your activity, which Jamal will touch upon when he talks about calmness, that how you can make it deeper and deeper. Now, peace is easy to tune into. Anyone who starts on the spiritual path, on the path of meditation, starts experiencing peace as one of the first roots of their practice. All beginners experience it, and I consider myself a beginner too. And peace is really important if you want to not get agitated. Our world is really sought with too much activity and restlessness, especially through digital medium, through which we are also sharing this. But this is one of the better ways. But through digital mediums, the energy, the electricity, there is too much restlessness. So it's always good to take time out from that activity to calm your mind and be still. You can do a few minutes of Hong. So one of the other things we learn called even count breathing, where we count for a fixed count, inhale, hold, exhale for a fixed count. That, what does it do? It regulates your breathing, and the more evenly you breathe, the more evenly your mind functions, the more evenly your energy is, and the more peaceful you are able to stay too. In my experience, whenever I would be sought with anxiety, when I was in college, I had once about to go to a teacher about a certain project. And before that, I was very anxious because it was going to be a difficult conversation. And many of you can relate with that. So before that, I felt, oh, I'm a little anxious. I can't have a good conversation but with that anxiety. So I thought, what can I do here? So the thought came, let's practice even count breathing and extended rounds of it just to calm the breath. And I did even count breathing. I thought, oh, my breath is calming down. All my worries are going away and I'm able to be at peace. Now, how the conversation went was a completely different thing because there I had to practice calmness instead of peace. But that is different. But even count breathing, Hong, so these are simple things but effective. Yogananda ji said if one wants to become a master in this incarnation, practice 2 hours of Hong So. And he was referring to deep Hong So, where you will go into perfect inner stillness, where there is no movement, even of breath, which is where we want to go. And we all can go. It's very easy. Uh, be around people who are peaceful. Practice contentment. Practice detachment to your desires. Many of these things were covered in our Secrets of Inner Peace series. So take a look, practice them. You will see it's easy. Then another thing, let me see, I have written some points if I am missing anything. Yes. This is very important. Relaxation, physical relaxation, and with that, inner relaxation. Because if we are not able to sit still or even be still in whatever we are doing, we are not relaxed, we are not peaceful. And if we are not peaceful, we are not able to do things with the focus. So try to relax your body as much as possible. Those who practice yoga postures, it's very beneficial. Those who know energization exercises, do it and then sit still. It's easy to go into peace then. And mental worries for that pranayama helps. So physical relaxation, energetic relaxation, and mental relaxation. All of these things take us to inner peace. Be around people who are harmonious, cooperative, peaceful, because those things come from peace. We often say peace and harmony go hand in hand. So it's very important. There is conflict all around us. So if you are peaceful and project it outward, it will help everyone else too. Then that peace keeps expanding from one to many. And that is what also we are trying to do. This is 2013 or 14. So I was in this group of students and we used to study together. So this was a classroom setting. At that time, I had just started to meditate, not too much seriously. So what I would do is come half an hour before the class, revise the topics of the previous class, and then for whatever time was left, so just sit in peace, little bit meditation, little bit peace, just trying to be there still. And a few others in that class also had experience with meditation. So whenever they would come later, they would just let me be and say, okay, this is good. Someone is meditating and something else. Some others may not be that peaceful. So they would come and they would start talking. And you know how those things can be. They talk, they shout, they argue or something like that going on in the background. But I was doing this consistently day in and day out, week in and week out, being just sitting there in peace. And I realized after a few weeks, one of the person who wasn't a meditator would come to me and say, seeing you, I also feel so peaceful, that everything is peaceful around here. And I realized in that moment that even a little practice of peace in our own lives can just inspire others to seek out peace in their own lives too. So it is the law of magnetism, law of satsang. And even if you are not doing it actively for others, even if you are peaceful within, others will benefit from it. The aura of peace will keep growing and growing and growing. So try to tune into that peace within, without. Another thing before I pass into Jamal, which helps with deepening is peace, is try to have moments, sections of the day or days of the week of complete silence outwardly. Because the less you speak, the more peace has the ability to stay within and deepen. The more we speak, somehow it just the energy somehow comes out a little bit, and there is movement of the tongue. Swamiji says, the more still we keep the tongue, the more we are able to stay inwardly peaceful. It's an esoteric thing. I don't understand it deeply, but it works. So try it. The more silence you maintain inwardly, the more you're able to stay peaceful in all your activities, and things become easy after that. Take a seclusion if possible, start with a day or two and increase and practice yamas and niyamas. They prevent your peace from leaking out into all your activities. So I have given, I think, a lot of things to consider for tuning into inner peace. Take one, try, see it works or not, and then keep trying. So thank you, everyone. I will pass it on to Jamal for helping us understand calmness.
Thank you, Ramesh. It's nice that someone who is telling us about peace has a peaceful voice and consciousness. I'm wondering if you all know the story about Swami Kriyananda when he was in Italy and he was giving a lecture and it was being translated. And Swamiji said, "And now feel the peace." And the translator said, "Cintura la pace." I don't know the Italian to be able to say the words properly, and Swamiji just thought, oh no. This man kind of angrily said, "Feel the peace." And Swamiji thought, I just have to learn Italian. And so after that moment, he decided that he was going to learn Italian. Um, anyway, it was nice to hear not only Ramesh's words, but there's a feeling behind those words. So as Ramesh and I were deciding who would speak about what, Ramesh said, well, Jamal, you go second with calmness. It naturally flows into that. And I honestly thought, really? And then as I was studying, Master more or less again and again said, if you want calmness, first meditate, find that deep peace within, and then you can go out into the world and you can be actively calm and calmly active, that you can operate from that center of deep inner peace. And I thought, very good. Ramesh was right. Interestingly, I was looking at it from the other perspective, that perhaps in life, before we learn to meditate, that we're so restless that we just want something, a little bit of calmness, and we're not able maybe at that point in our lives to meditate deeply and to go into that space of deep peace, but we can start to take actions that give more calmness. And there might be some validity to that as well, I don't know. But anyway, these two go hand in hand. Let me first kind of define a little bit the difference between these two. So as Ramesh was telling us, that peace really is this state of stillness, this rest point in between movements. And calmness implies that we can still have that same attitude, yet it's a dynamic thing that's going on. For example, someone can speak calmly, or they can speak in a very erratic, jarring way. When, I don't know how old I was, long ago in the far distant past, somehow I was in an art studio and I was able to get on a potter's wheel, and I had a piece of clay on there. And I thought, well, if he can do it, I can do it. And so I kind of started forming this pot and everything was fine. And this was this electric wheel. And so I pressed the accelerator, if you will, on this electric wheel, and it started spinning faster. And the pot that I had made there wasn't quite balanced. And it got, and then it flew off, and it may have even hit the wall. I don't remember, but it was a pretty dramatic scene for me. And it's always stuck in my mind. Well, number one, maybe I should take advice from people who know what they're doing before I just launch into projects without knowing what I'm doing. But more than that, that if I'm centered, then this world around me can spin very fast, or that I can accomplish many things. But if I'm a little bit out of center, if a little bit of energy is going, it might still be okay. But if a lot of energy tries to move, that I myself can become quite unbalanced, and that is not a nice feeling. And the thing to do about it is to go back inside in meditation and find that deep sense of peace, and then bring that back out into the world, into our daily activities with calmness. Always remember Master's words: actively calm, calmly active. That actively calm means that we're using our energy to stay calm, even in the midst of, I don't know, confusion, chaos, lots of things going on, that we use our will, we use our energy to say that I am going to be calm. And then calmly active means that we sometimes can fool ourselves and say, I'm just going to practice calmness. I'm going to take a nap. And that's not calmness, that's laziness. And so we have to be high energy people and be aware what we're doing with that high energy, and use it to stay calm and stay centered. Just as I've grown up in life, I've come to understand how important it is when everyone else is yelling or getting their emotions agitated due to whatever. And it might be a perfectly reasonable situation and it seems fine. Yeah, this seems like the moment when everybody else is losing their emotions and everything's crazy. Maybe I should too. But that it just doesn't work. That no matter what the situation is, really, there's nothing to get agitated about. That we all are immortal beings. It is God who's actually doing everything and who has thought out this entire drama to run just the way that it's supposed to run. And if we are in tune with that, there should be absolutely nothing that can shake us. Of course, this is theory here. We will all get shaken. But when we do, then we need to analyze and say, was it worth it? Did it work? And then we can usually say, no, it wasn't worth it. It didn't work. And I'll strive to be a more calm person. And again, this doesn't mean to be a apathetic person, to just kind of be dull and not aware, that we have to be highly aware, but it just has to not let our heart's feelings get caught up in the drama and in the emotions of life, and learn how to live with an impersonal view of life, just watching it and doing what God wants us to do and constantly listening and doing what needs to be done, but in a detached way. And of course, it's so easy to just talk about these things. It's very hard to do, but it's why we are all here, and we can learn to do it better and better. As I was thinking about this, I just thought that we could think about this, that peace really is what we gain in meditation, but we could think about, or when we meditate really deeply anyways, and we could think calmness is what we are trying to do in seva. And so in that way, that we can always be striving for one of these two, peace or calmness, that when we're meditating, we can be striving to find that center that never actually moved. And then when we go out into the world, we can be striving to maintain calmness. And in this way, we can always be one or the other. What a beautiful thing to strive for. Another thing that I wanted to talk about this evening is that as we practice Kriya, that we also can do that with these words, actively calm, calmly active. That because movement is happening with energy in the spine as we practice Kriya. I imagine most people here are Kriya bonds. And we can strive to do each Kriya in a more and more calm fashion in order to lead us into that place of inner silence and inner peace. And if we practice it properly, that it can take us to that place of inner peace. And in the beginning, with all the techniques, I was wanting, like I'll do a certain number of kriyas, or I'll sit there for a certain amount of time with Hong Sa, and then I'll launch off into samadhi. And that just never happened. But I began to feel that there was at least more peace after whatever technique I did. And I began to at least enjoy that amount of peace. And I began to want more and more of that. And in that way, I began to learn to love the techniques more and to really place, well, sometimes I blame God and sometimes I blame myself. I don't know where the blame should be, but that I realize that it's not the technique that's the problem, that I'm not really practicing it with full concentration, with awareness, with cooperating with God to help me practice the technique. And it's just so amazing that Paramahansa Yogananda could do one Kriya and go into samadhi, that he had that absolute control over his mind and over his energy, and that he could find that. And it's inspiring for me to know that we too can go so deep into meditation and into these techniques. And at first, we're just really utilizing calmness as we still these waves, that then we too one day will be able to find this space inside where the breath is completely calm. There's a nice analogy, and Swamiji goes into it deeply in the essence of the Bhagavad Gita, but between the breath and waves on the ocean. And that by practicing the techniques that we can learn to calm these waves, and that it can become absolutely still. And so the breath can become absolutely still. So calmness can lead to perfect peace, perfect stillness. And that really is the goal of calmness. And we won't get there by only meditating. We won't get there by only serving. I don't know how many of you have heard this before. And then we're going to have fun with a drawing in a second. But when I first went to the village, a great soul there named Trimurti told me, if you want to meditate more, serve more. If you want to serve more, meditate more. I didn't know him. In the beginning, I was judging like anything. I thought, this man's crazy. What does he mean if I want to meditate more, serve more? If I want to meditate more, I should just go meditate more. But over years, I began to understand, oh, he really was onto something. And that we only can push so much in meditation, or we can only push so much in outward activity. And then we need to come back to the other side of things. And so in that, there's also a balance that we find in calmness and in peace. Okay, so these last 2 minutes, we're going to just simply have fun. And well, at least I think it's going to be fun. Let's see if you think that it's going to be fun. So as I was studying for this, I found that Master had said right here, make a triangle, and on one side, write sweetness, on the other side, write calmness, and at the base, write happiness. Sweetness, calmness, happiness. Let's see if we can pull this off. Sweetness. Okay, all right. I got to tilt my head for this, but I'm going to do my best. So sweetness. Ooh, that's not a good E. Sweetness. And then I'm going to talk about why I'm actually doing this. Sweetness. Okay, tilting the other way. Calmness. Calm. Not clam either. Calm. Calmness. Okay, this is very difficult, but I am pulling it off. And happiness. Happiness. Make a triangle, and on each side write these things. I do this because I want to actually do what Master said. It's so easy to just, you visualize it and you say, yeah, I did it. And then you didn't really, but when you do it, you remember, I don't have time anymore, but there's little things that I've just done what Master said. I didn't even understand it at all. And in doing, I understood. These, by the way, represent the three higher chakras. The heart with sweetness, the throat chakra is peace and calmness, and the sixth chakra is bliss, happiness. Sixth and seventh, we could say. But we want to learn to live in these three higher centers. So remember this triangle. You go home where you're at home right now, draw it, write it out, sweetness, calmness, happiness. Live in that sweetness, calmness, happiness. And Master said at the base, put happiness. That it's the most important thing that we have to base our life on is happiness. I want 1 minute over. I'm done. It's been a blessing to be with all of you. Thank you. Thank you.